Westonaria Magistrate's Court has granted 42 suspects arrested after the deadly attack at the IPHC headquarters in Zuurbekom that claimed 5 lives have all been granted 5,000 rand bail each. For more, let's cross to our reporter covering the story, Hasina Gori. Hasina, a very good morning to you. What happened in court this morning?
Good morning. Yes, we're here in Westonaria on the west rand of Gauteng, where this morning Magistrate Gavin Pillay handed down judgment. As you mentioned, all 42 suspects have been granted a bail of 5,000 rand each, as well as been told to hand over all their travel documents and passports, as well as not interfere with the state's case or with any witnesses. They've been told they're not even allowed to WhatsApp or get into contact with anyone from the church or go onto the church premises in Silo Zuurbekom. We know that this comes from the deadly attacks that happened last month, where 5 people's lives were claimed, as well as women and children taken hostage at that church on that fateful Sunday morning. Quite a scene, if you remember correctly, that we saw cars burning, as well as quite a number of people being arrested from the police. We heard that 42 suspects were arrested, some in possession of unlicensed firearms as well as ammunition. From what we heard from the state's version, there was quite an arsenal of ammunition, including semi-rifles as well as pistons and a lot of ammunition. But what the investigating officer was unable to say is who these firearms belong to. He could not identify, from statements and from the arresting officers who exactly these firearms belong to. And that was something the magistrate said was quite concerning, that they couldn't really say which of the 42 suspects that firearms belong to. We also heard that some vehicles were seized during that morning, and one of them was a Quantum, which has now been identified as a stolen vehicle that was stolen in KwaZulu-Natal last year already. So these were some of the things that we saw coming out of the court case. We know it's been quite a lengthy bail application. With COVID regulations, we saw sometimes a postponement during the court due to the court having to be sanitized. We also found that because of the number and the volume of those accused, it was quite a long process. Each one had to come and give their affidavits individually to adhere to COVID regulations. But today we did hear that they've been granted a bail of 5,000 rand. They will return to court on the 27th of November for further investigations.
These 42 suspects, Hasina, what more are we learning about them and the charges they face?
So they all are facing charges of murder, attempted murder, as well as possession of unlicensed firearms and ammunition, as well as public violence. We know that many of them were those that were hired by a security company, there to kind of keep the peace at the IPHC headquarters. But a few of the accused, I think there were 3 of them, they were from a different a security company, which people don't understand and are trying to figure out who were they hired by. We do know that the attacks that took place at this church were due to an ongoing leadership battle that is going on between 3 brothers at the church after the father had passed on. So it's a leadership battle that they're all fighting. So there are 3 different factions that are fighting, for the right to, that ownership of the church. We know that some of those that were part of the accused, one is a defense lawyer, another is also a army personnel, as well as a police officer. For now, that's all we've kind of got a sense of. We do know that 1 suspect is still in hospital. We know there were 3 that were injured during the attacks. But quite interestingly, there's 2 different versions currently that we've heard in court. The state version is that many of those arrested were arrested leaving the church with firearms. But a lot of those that we heard from their testimony and affidavits or through their legal representation is that they were coming into church. They were coming, walking in, and they were arrested before they even reached the church. So it's going to be interesting during trial, when these different versions are now aired out, and we'd get a sense of what exactly took place that Sunday morning.
All right, Hasina Gori, live for us there. Thank you very much indeed.